Hi, I'm Larry London. Welcome to Border Crossings. On today's show, it's singer-songwriter Kiesza. Best known for her mega hit Hideaway, the three-time Juno Award winner is on tour for her debut album Sound of a Woman. She stopped by Border Crossings to talk about her CD and also tell us her future plans. Kiesza opened up about her experience as a beauty pageant contestant and also revealed some information about her next album. Kiesza was honored at the YouTube Music Awards as one of the 50 greatest YouTube performances for her Hideaway video. Join us on today's Border Crossings with Kiesza on VOA TV.
Welcome to Border Crossings. We have a special guest in our studios on tour right now for Sound of a Woman, a brand new album that she's got out. It's her debut album. And she's won all kinds of Juno Awards and selling out shows all across the world. We'd like to welcome Kiesza to downtown D.C. and the Voice of America. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Am I pronouncing the name correctly? Because I've heard several pronunciations.
Yeah, the most correct version, which nobody says, is Kiesza.
Kiesza.
Which is a Norwegian name, but everyone calls me Kiesza.
There's so many layers to you. You're a very interesting person. You have a lot of different parts of you. Yeah, you started off in jazz. You're a ballerina. You did folk music for a while. Now we're in pop dance. Are you comfortable? Where are you most comfortable? I should ask.
I'm always sort of stretching my own boundaries. I don't like to be in a comfort zone. You know how most people have to get out of their comfort zone. I have trouble staying in one place. So. I always need to change and I always need to evolve, and it's just sort of a constant thing. Even my fashion and everything, like last year was Reeboks, now I'm wearing Doc Martens like crazy, and like but musically, I mean, it helps me for music because just having this desire to try new things is what allowed me to find my voice and to figure out what sound my voice sits best on, and the sound that I identify with as an artist. As opposed to being a songwriter where I can sort of write across the map. But I realized you have to do things in phases. And it took me about 1.5 years to figure this out because I was trying to do everything at the same time.
Right.
You can, but you sort of have to focus. When you're touring, you focus on the touring. You're focused on keeping your body healthy so you can do a great show every night. And then if you have time, once in a while you work in writing. Whereas when you're writing all the time. You're not touring, you're not doing shows, you're sort of expanding your mind, you're kind of going out into the world and taking in life, and your mind is in a completely different zone, and it allows you to sort of just tap into yourself, to other people, and just kind of regurgitate abstract thought, I guess. And it's a totally different mindset, and it took me a while to figure that out. So now that the tour is coming to end, I'm going to sort of try to get my head back in that writing space because I am starting the next album.
And what's that going to be about?
I don't know.
You don't know yet?
I mean, I haven't really started it. Things kind of flow through me. I didn't like say I'm going to write an album called Sound of a Woman that's going to be about all the painful love history that I have. It just happened, and I think for me, I was regurgitating suppressed emotion because I don't feel like my next album is going to be anywhere near the type of emotion that Sound of a Woman was. It was just, that was inside of me. It was something that I guess I was suppressing, and it came out. So I think now that that's sort of a weight off my shoulders, I've noticed that my lyrics are a little more, I'm sort of looking out into the world. I think they're gonna have a little bit more of, I don't know, definitely a different angle. I'm definitely writing slightly different now that Sound of a Woman's done.
Well, congratulations on the Juno Awards. I mean, that's being from Canada and winning in Canada such a prestigious honor, and you won a number of them, so congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, 3. You're right. Being from Canada, those are like our Grammy Awards. Right. And that's what I grew up knowing about. So, yeah, it was really shocking. I mean, I always never expect to win because, you should, I don't know. I just, if it happens, that's amazing, but I don't want to like raise my expectations. So I was like, I was just happy to be nominated.
So what about, I mean, the songwriting, the singing, the performing, you do it all, and you do it so well.
Thank you.
Is there one place that you kind of feel most at home? You have a favorite part of all of that?
I guess the thing that I know I could do forever is the songwriting. Because I feel like even when I'm 95, as long as I still got a voice, I can
sure
still write a song. But I tend to sort of, when I'm doing one thing, I crave the other. So when I start performing, I start to feel like I need to write. And when I start writing, I feel like I need to perform the songs that I'm writing. So they kind of all feed one another. And as I, view back my performances, I'm always critiquing my own dance, like, oh, this needs to get better, this needs to get better. I need to expand my outfits this way. So it's sort of just a constant sort of ebb and flow of one into the next. So.
Have you ever written a song about your fans or inspired by your fans? Has that inspiration ever come from that?
Yeah, actually, I mean, not one that's out, but I write about everything. I write every day of life, and that's just a little thing I like to do, whether it's 10 seconds or 5 minutes or 3 hours. I try to always put an idea out. So, yeah, I guess I've written with just the idea in mind of having this sort of all these people around the world that are supporting my music. I definitely have little song and ideas that I've written about, but yeah, I write about my experience in my life for my music. When I'm writing for other people, I try to channel them. So it's a totally different mind frame. I like to kind of leave it up to Spontaneity, the Jack U song that I did with Diplo and Skrillex. I never would have actually put that together in my head. Like, I wouldn't have thought, I'm gonna get in a room with Diplo and Skrillex and put it together and, we'll create a song. It just happened. We just met at a festival and ended up in Skrillex's studio hotel room that he, converted into a studio. And on a USB microphone plugged into a computer, we created that song just because we all happened to be there. So, and those are the best moments when you just can't expect it. You can't predict it. And it's just people you would have never thought that you'd be working with at the same time. But because you're not like overthinking it and it just happens, your inspiration flows a little bit better. Sometimes if you're gonna work with, like, if you're gonna work with somebody, then you start listening to all their music and trying to think like them, and it actually makes it worse for you because you you think you know what they want, but then you get in the room and they want something completely different. So sometimes it's better to not know anything and to just let it flow. Let the juices flow.
You're obviously riding high on the wave right now. This is still very early for you. Only one album, but you sound like you've been doing this for 20 years.
Well, I've been writing for not 20 years, but
but you started writing when?
I believe my first song was written when I was 17. Do
you go back and revisit the songs you wrote when you were a teenager and say,
yeah, I still remember
that's great, or what was I thinking? Or
I actually, for a first song, I was actually pretty impressed now that I think back. I mean, it wasn't like a radio hit or anything, but I think I had a natural instinct for melody and for song structure without really understanding it. That kind of just sort of fast-tracked me into the writing world a little bit, because a lot of people will start writing when they're 11, 12, 13, and I was literally like this thrill-seeking teenager climbing mountains and sailing boats and rolling in the mud and doing ballet. Like, I didn't even, like, the idea of being a singer didn't even pop into my head until I was 17, and it kind of hit me by like surprise when I wrote my first song. It just came out of nowhere, and it was the first time I ever picked up a guitar and attempted to learn it. So literally, I learned the guitar, started learning guitar, and started learning to songwrite at the exact same moment. Wow! And the first song I wrote I ended up walking down to a neighbor's house and being like, "Check it out! I just wrote a song." And they had a radio announcer over there, and the radio announcer liked it and let me play it on the radio. And very quickly, I realized, wait, I think I have a natural instinct. Like, there's something about songwriting that it's natural. I work really hard at other things. Like sailing, I worked really hard to be a good sailor. Ballet, I worked really hard to be a good ballerina. But songwriting just sort of came out of nowhere. And so applying that sort of the work ethic I had to sort of a more kind of instinctive ability, I think was why it kind of became like a purpose for me. And I felt like what I loved about writing music was that it was coming from me and it was personal, but once it's out in the world, it's not for me anymore, it's for everybody. And I felt like I had something to give to other people, and I had something that could kind of give something positive to other people as well. And And that sort of gave me a sense of purpose as well. And I became obsessed, as I do. I always become hyper obsessed with the things I'm doing.
Well, you do them well. Everything you've done well, and making a huge splash, I mean, for yourself, for 3 Junos and multi-platinum success with the debut album. It kind of sets the bar really, really high for the next album. You're probably going to feel pressure, if you haven't already, going into the next album. Not thinking about it.
I think why Hideaway worked and why this whole project sort of worked was because when I decided to do it, I just decided to do it with no rules. And I had no fan base or anything, so I thought this was just a passion project that no one would hear. And I think because I had that approach, and because I wasn't trying to be something, I wasn't trying to work, I wasn't trying to fit in, I was just doing music that I loved and sort of tapping into my own emotions and being honest, being very sincere. I think people connected with it because it was genuine and it was sincere. So I want to approach my second album the same way. I don't want to have rules. I don't want to think, oh, well, I need to have a radio hit, therefore I'm going to write with that in mind. Like, I'm just going to write whatever flows through me, you know, for better or for worse. And I just hope that people connect with it still, and just try to become a stronger performer. What's
been the highlight so far? As we wrap up and you're going to take a break and prepare for the next step, the next chapter, what's been the highlight so far?
I mean, 2015 was, I've been touring a lot, but this was legitimately my first full headline tour of Europe, Australia. Came back for the Junos, then did the UK, and now did the United States. So that for me was the highlight of this year, is having had 2014 to sort of figure out who I am as a performer and what I want to do, and then be able to sort of, I had to throw together the show. I didn't have a lot of time, but to be able to put together my own show with my own lighting and my own crew and go on tour and just see with my own eyes the people that are supporting me as a musician. And that just means, it's been incredible.
We really appreciate you being on The Voice of America and being here. And please promise me that when you put out your next album and you're touring through DC, that we'll have you on
back.
again.
Yeah,
you promise?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kiesza. I appreciate meeting you and having you on our show.
Likewise.
Thank you. I'm Larry London, and this is Border Crossings on The Voice of America.